Loyalty, a word we glorify, a virtue we praise, yet one of the most misunderstood qualities in human relationships. Too often, people mistake loyalty for chains, believing it requires unquestioned obedience, silence in the face of wrong, or sacrifice without reciprocation. But the truth about loyalty is far deeper, far more powerful, and far more dangerous when misunderstood. Think about it. How many times have you been loyal to someone who didn't deserve it? How many times have you kept giving your time, energy, or love only to realize that loyalty was being exploited, not respected? And how many times have you silenced your own voice just to prove your loyalty to someone else's cause? The truth is, loyalty is not measured in how long you stay. It's measured in the integrity of why you stay. Real loyalty is not blind. It sees clearly, it questions, it protects, and above all, it remains rooted in respect. Today, a degree, we're going to strip away the illusions and uncover what loyalty really means, because once you understand it, you'll never waste it on the wrong people again. Loyalty is often painted as a timeless virtue, something noble and pure, but too often it is misunderstood as blind devotion, a kind of unquestioned allegiance that asks us to follow, obey, and submit without thought. That is not loyalty. That is bondage. Real loyalty is something far more deliberate. It is not given by accident or out of fear, and it is never the result of manipulation. True loyalty is a conscious choice, a decision born from respect, trust, and shared values. It does not demand that we sacrifice our voice or betray our own principles. Instead, it asks us to commit ourselves with clarity, to stand with someone or something because it aligns with what we believe to be right. Think of the strongest relationships in your life, friendships, partnerships, even professional bonds. The ones that endure are not built on empty words or blind faith. They are built on trust that has been tested, on respect that has been proven, and on values that are genuinely shared. When you are loyal to someone under those conditions, it is not because you are trapped. It is because you have chosen to be there, fully aware of the cost and fully aligned with the reason. That's why real loyalty cannot be rushed or demanded. It grows only in the soil of authenticity. When loyalty is blind, it corrodes. It creates one-sided dynamics where one person takes and the other endlessly gives. And in that imbalance, resentment eventually takes root. But when loyalty is conscious, it strengthens both sides. It tells the other person, I am here because I see you, I respect you, and I trust what you stand for. And in return, it demands the same. That mutual recognition is what makes loyalty powerful. Not chains, but bonds. Not silence, but shared conviction. The danger comes when people confuse loyalty with submission. They expect silence when they are wrong, applause when they fail, and support even when they betray your values. That is not loyalty. That is servitude dressed up as virtue. Real loyalty is courageous enough to challenge. It says, I care about you too much to let you walk into destruction. It defends, but it also corrects. It supports, but it also holds accountable. And sometimes the greatest act of loyalty is not standing beside someone in their wrongs, but guiding them back to what is right. We see this in history, in leadership, in families, in friendships. The people who make the deepest impact are not those who demand loyalty at all costs, but those who inspire it by the way they live. They do not manipulate or threaten. They earn loyalty by showing consistency, by living with integrity, by being the same in private as they are in public. And because of that, the loyalty they receive is real. It is not fragile or forced, but freely given. Loyalty that comes from choice is unshakable because it is grounded in respect. When storms hit, when doubts rise, when trials come, this kind of loyalty doesn't crumble. Why? Because it was not based on fear of losing a position or fear of punishment. It was built on shared principles and values that can withstand pressure. That is why when people stand by each other through hardship, we call it loyalty. But the truth is, it was always something deeper than mere endurance. It was a reflection of the values they both believed were worth standing for. Every person must learn to ask themselves, who deserves my loyalty, who has earned it through their actions, not just their words, because loyalty misplaced is dangerous. It can drain your energy, rob you of your voice, and keep you tied to relationships that do not honor your worth. But when it is given to the right people, to the right cause, it becomes a force that uplifts, strengthens, and multiplies everything it touches. So remember this, loyalty is not blind. It is not the act of closing your eyes and following without question. It is the exact opposite. It is opening your eyes, seeing clearly, and still choosing to stay, to stand, and to fight alongside someone because you truly believe in the values you share. That is the truth about loyalty. It is a conscious, deliberate act of respect, trust, and alignment. And when you live by that truth, you stop wasting loyalty where it is not valued, and you start building connections that can truly last a lifetime. Real loyalty cannot be demanded. It can only be earned. This truth might sound simple on the surface, but it is one of the hardest lessons many people learn in life. Too often, individuals in positions of power, whether in families, workplaces, or relationships, believe they have the right to demand loyalty. They think a title, a role, or even shared history guarantees unquestioned allegiance. But loyalty that is demanded is never genuine. It is coerced, fragile, and temporary. Only loyalty that is earned through consistency, integrity, and authenticity has the strength to endure. Consistency is the first pillar of earned loyalty. People watch more than they listen. It's supposed to be a burden to a degree. They observe whether your words align with your actions, whether you show up when you say you will, and whether your behavior remains steady regardless of circumstance. If you are one person when things are good, but another when pressure rises, the loyalty of others will vanish. Why? Because inconsistency breeds doubt. Loyalty cannot survive where trust is unstable. But when someone demonstrates reliability day after day, year after year, loyalty naturally flows to them. It is not because they demanded it, but because people feel safe placing their trust in what is dependable. Integrity forms the second pillar. Without integrity, loyalty is impossible. People may stick around for a while if you bribe them, manipulate them, or intimidate them, but what they give is not loyalty, it is compliance. True loyalty only exists when people believe in your honesty and your moral character. They need to know that even when no one is watching, you will not betray their trust. Integrity is not perfection, but it is the refusal to lie, cheat, or manipulate for personal gain. Those who consistently act with integrity inspire loyalty without asking for it, because others recognize that their commitment is safe in trustworthy hands. The third pillar is authenticity. Humans have a natural instinct to sense pretension or deceit. When someone wears masks, plays roles, or tries to manipulate how others see them, loyalty cannot thrive. Authenticity, however, creates space for loyalty to grow because it builds connection. When you are real about your struggles, your strengths, your flaws, and your dreams, people see you for who you are. They don't follow an image, they connect with a person. And loyalty is never to an illusion. It is always to something or someone real. The problem with demanding loyalty is that it flips the natural order. Instead of building trust, the person in power assumes entitlement. They expect allegiance without earning it. And in doing so, they erode the very loyalty they crave. History is full of examples. Leaders who demanded loyalty from their people, but collapsed the moment hardship revealed their lack of character. Relationships fall apart in the same way. When one partner demands loyalty while offering no consistency, no integrity, and no authenticity, what grows is not loyalty but resentment. On the other hand, those who earn loyalty rarely need to ask for it. Their actions speak so loudly that people willingly give it. Think of the mentors, friends, or leaders in your life who earned your loyalty. They did not force you into it. Instead, their consistency reassured you. Their integrity made you trust them, and their authenticity allowed you to connect with them on a deeper level. That bond became unshackable, not because of obligation, but because of respect. It is important to also recognize that loyalty earned is loyalty that can be lost if those pillars are broken. A lifetime of consistency can be undone by repeated betrayal. Integrity shattered by dishonesty makes loyalty impossible to restore fully. Authenticity replaced by manipulation erodes the very foundation of connection. This is why loyalty must be cherished and protected. Once it is earned, it requires continual effort to sustain. It is not a one-time achievement, but an ongoing commitment to living with consistency, integrity, and authenticity. So when you hear someone say, "You owe me loyalty," remember this: loyalty is not a debt to be collected. It is not something you owe simply because of position, status, or history. Loyalty that is demanded without being earned is a false loyalty destined to collapse under pressure. But loyalty that is earned is resilient. It stands strong in trials, survives misunderstandings, and grows deeper through challenges. It is the kind of loyalty that endures not because it is forced, but because it is freely chosen. Real loyalty cannot be taken, it must be inspired. And once it is inspired, it's supposed to be a burden to a degree. It becomes one of the most powerful forces in any human relationship. Strong enough to withstand storms, honest enough to speak truth, and enduring enough to last a lifetime. Many people confuse loyalty with obedience or silence, as though being loyal means biting your tongue, agreeing with everything, and standing quietly even when something feels wrong. But that is not loyalty. That is fear disguised as devotion. Real loyalty does not mean being passive or submissive. True loyalty is active. It speaks up, it questions, and it challenges when necessary. In fact, silence in the face of wrongdoing is the opposite of loyalty because it abides to a degree, because it allows harm to grow unchecked and relationships to weaken in the shadows of unspoken truth. When we truly care about someone, we don't enable their self-destruction. It's supposed to be a burden to a degree. If a friend is head not mean clap toward a mistake, loyalty doesn't clap them on the back and pretending all is well. It means pulling them aside, even if it's uncomfortable, and saying, I respect you too much to let you go down this path without hearing the truth. That moment of honesty may sting, but it comes from love and respect, not malice. Real loyalty has the courage to risk temporary discomfort for the sake of long-term strength. Silence may feel easier, but it is cowardice in disguise. The same applies in workplaces, communities, and families. Loyalty to a leader or organization does not mean covering up corruption, enabling harmful practices, or pretending mistakes don't exist. In fact, the most loyal members are often the ones willing to raise concerns, to voice truths that others are too afraid to say. They do this not to tear down, but to strengthen, because they care enough to confront. A team built on blind obedience may look united from the outside, but it is hollow within. A team built on honest, loyal dialogue may face more friction, but it will emerge stronger, healthier, and more resilient. We must understand that real loyalty requires courage. It takes bravery to speak up when silence would be easier, to confront when agreement would keep the peace. But peace built on silence is fragile. It shatters the moment truth is exposed. Peace built on honest loyalty, however, is enduring because it acknowledges reality and chooses to work through it rather than bury it. Those who truly value loyalty welcome honest voices, even when they hurt to hear. Those who demand only obedience and silence are not looking for loyalty. They are looking for control. Consider the people you trust most. Chances are they are not the ones who nod at everything you say or agree with you no matter what. They are the ones who, when necessary, told you something, be a burden to a degree, told you something you didn't want to hear but needed to hear. They are the ones who had the courage to say, you're wrong, when you couldn't see it yourself. That is why their loyalty matters, because it is real. They are not loyal to your ego. They are loyal to your growth, your well-being, and your integrity. True loyalty is also deeply respectful. It does not tear down, belittle, or shame. It does not speak truth in cruelty, but in care. The purpose of loyalty is not to win arguments, but to preserve connection. It is about strengthening bonds through honesty, not severing them with harshness. That balance between courage and compassion is what separates real loyalty from destructive criticism. Anyone can point out flaws. It takes loyalty to point them out with the intent to protect, uplift, and restore. This is why loyalty and accountability are inseparable. If someone is loyal to you, they will not let you drift away from your best self without trying to pull you back. They will hold you accountable, not because they want to control you, but because they want to see you align with your values. And if you are loyal to someone else, you cannot simply cheer for them when they shine and remain silent when they stumble. Real loyalty does not vanish when it is tested. It leans in with even more honesty and care. At its core, loyalty is not about silence or obedience, but about standing close enough to see someone fully and caring enough to speak truthfully. It does not mean you always agree. It does not mean you stay quiet for comfort. It means you are willing to risk tension in order to protect what truly matters. Loyalty has a voice. Loyalty asks hard questions. Loyalty challenges, and because of that, loyalty strengthens. So when you think of loyalty, do not imagine the person who always nods and never questions. Imagine instead the person who was brave enough to look you in the eye and tell you what no one else will, and who stands beside you even after the hard truth is spoken. That is loyalty in its purest form, not silent obedience, but the kind of truth telling that makes relationships unbreakable. Loyalty is often spoken of as if it is a one-way street, something one person owes another regardless of circumstance. But the truth is loyalty must be reciprocal. One-sided loyalty is not devotion, it is exploitation. When only one person is giving and the other is endlessly taking, the balance is broken, and what remains is not loyalty but manipulation. Real loyalty thrives when it is mutual, when both sides are willing to stand by one another with the same depth of commitment. Without reciprocity, loyalty decays into resentment, and what once felt like a noble virtue becomes a heavy chain. Consider any meaningful relationship, friendship, partnership, or even professional connection. When loyalty flows both ways, trust deepens. Both people know that if one stumbles, the other will help them rise. Both people know that victories will be celebrated together and struggles will be carried together. That sense of shared responsibility builds a foundation of security, the kind of bond that makes people confident enough to commit fully. But when one person keeps showing up, keeps sacrificing, keeps giving loyalty that is never returned, the imbalance slowly erodes the relationship from within. No matter how strong one person's loyalty is, without reciprocity, it cannot survive forever. This imbalance often begins subtly. One side asks for patience, forgiveness, or understanding. Yeah. The other gives it gladly because they are loyal. But over time, if it becomes a pattern, it becomes a pattern. If only one side bends and sacrifices while the other never reciprocates, the loyal person is left carrying the entire weight of the relationship. And loyalty, when it is not met with equal respect, becomes a tool of exploitation. It convinces people to stay where they are undervalued, to endure mistreatment under the illusion of virtue. True loyalty does not demand endless sacrifice without acknowledgement. It is not a license for one side to take advantage of the other. Loyalty is healthiest when it is nurtured, when it is honored, and when it is given back in equal measure. So if someone values your loyalty, they will show loyalty in return. They will not simply demand your presence in their difficult moments, but will be present for you in yours. They will not only celebrate when you are useful, but also support you when you are vulnerable. Reciprocity is what transforms loyalty from servitude into strength. We see this principle in teams and organizations as well. A leader who expects unwavering loyalty from their people, but does not demonstrate loyalty back, will never inspire genuine devotion. They may gain temporary compliance, but the moment hardship strikes, that false loyalty will vanish. On the other hand, when leaders stand with their people, defend them, protect them, and invest in them, loyalty flows back naturally. The reciprocity creates unity, a bond so strong that no external pressure can easily break it. Loyalty in one direction creates weakness, but loyalty in both directions creates resilience. In personal relationships, the same truth applies. A friendship is not truly loyal if one person is always the listener, the supporter, the shoulder to cry on, while the other never reciprocates. A partnership is not truly loyal if one side is expected to forgive endlessly, while the other repeats the same betrayals. Loyalty without reciprocity is exploitation wrapped in pretty words. The only way loyalty remains healthy is when both people see each other as worthy of the same respect, care, and degree and commitment. That does not mean loyalty is always perfectly balanced in every moment. Life is not a scale that measures every act equally. There will be seasons when one person carries more because the other is struggling, and that is natural. But over the course of time, reciprocity must exist. Both sides must be willing to carry weight for one another, to stand up when the other falls, to sacrifice when necessary. If not, loyalty becomes unsustainable, leaving one drained and the other entitled. One-sided loyalty often disguises itself as strength or virtue, but in reality, it is a sign that something is broken. It traps people in cycles of giving without receiving, convincing them that endurance is the same as devotion. But devotion without reciprocity is just exploitation in disguise. Real loyalty frees, empowers, and uplifts because it's shared. The truth about loyalty is that it was never meant to be a burden, placed only on one person's shoulders. It was meant to be a bridge, something that connects two sides equally. When both honor it, loyalty becomes one of the most powerful forces in human connection. But when it flows only one way, it ceases to be loyalty at all. It becomes an imbalance that weakens both sides, the one who exploits and the one who endures. Only when loyalty is mutual can it truly fulfill its purpose to strengthen bonds, to deepen trust, and to create a foundation that can withstand anything. The strongest loyalty we can ever practice is loyalty to our own principles and to our self-respect before we extend it to others. This is the foundation upon which all other loyalties must be built. Without loyalty to yourself, your values, and your sense of worth, any loyalty you give to others becomes vulnerable to misuse. Too often, people sacrifice their dignity, silence their truth, and bend their principles in the name of loyalty, believing they are doing something noble. But in reality, loyalty that requires the abandonment of self-respect is not loyalty at all. It is self-betrayal. When you remain loyal to your principles, you create a standard that protects you from exploitation. It means you will not stay in relationships that demand your silence while they trample your dignity. It means you will not support causes or leaders that betray the very values you hold dear. Loyalty to yourself, respect gives you clarity, allowing you to see when loyalty to others is no longer healthy or deserved. It empowers you to walk away from situations where your worth is not honored, not because you are disloyal, but because your first and deepest loyalty is to the truth within you. This form of loyalty does not make you selfish. It makes you strong. If you cannot stand with yourself, you will never be able to truly stand with anyone else. Loyalty to yourself means you will not compromise honesty for convenience. You will not betray integrity for approval, and you will not surrender your identity for acceptance. It is about protecting the essence of who you are, so that when you give loyalty to others, it is given from a place of strength, not desperation. Think about how many people lose themselves in the name of loyalty. They stay in toxic relationships because leaving would be called betrayal. They remain in workplaces where they are disrespected because walking away would be seen as disloyalty. They silence their voice, their opinions, their dreams because they don't want to disappoint someone else. But the truth is, every time they choose others at the expense of themselves, they are teaching the world that their own self-respect has a lower value. And once self-respect is surrendered, any loyalty that follows is nothing more than a hollow shell. When you are loyal to your principles, something remarkable happens. Your loyalty to others becomes purer, stronger, and more resilient. Why? Because it is no longer based on fear of rejection or need for approval. Instead, it is grounded in authenticity. You can stand beside people wholeheartedly, knowing that you are not betraying yourself in the process. You can give your support with full conviction because your loyalty to them does not conflict with your loyalty to your values. That kind of loyalty is powerful because it is whole. It does not fracture you. Loyalty to self also teaches boundaries. It tells you when to stay and when to walk away. It reminds you that saying no is sometimes the most loyal act you can perform. Loyal to your health, to your peace, and to your dignity. Boundaries are not walls that block loyalty. They are the guardrails that protect it. They ensure that your loyalty is given where it is respected and withdrawn where it is abused. In this way, self-loyalty does not diminish what you give to others. It refines it. It ensures that your loyalty is not wasted on people or places unworthy of it. This is why loyalty to self-respect is not just a private matter, but a public strength. When others see that you are loyal to your own principles, they learn to respect you. They know you cannot be manipulated with guilt or coerced with fear. They know your loyalty is valuable because it is not for sale and not given cheaply. And those who do earn it will cherish it more because they understand it comes from a place of conviction, not weakness. In the end, loyalty is only as strong as the principles it rests upon. If you betray yourself for the sake of loyalty to others, you will eventually feel empty, resentful, and broken. But if you first remain loyal to your own truth, your values, and your dignity, every loyalty you extend to others will carry the weight of authenticity. You will no longer confuse endurance with devotion or silence with commitment. Instead, you will give loyalty in a way that strengthens both you and those you stand beside. The deepest truth is this: you cannot be truly loyal to anyone else if you are disloyal to yourself. Self-respect is the foundation. Principles are the compass. And when you remain loyal to both, your loyalty to others becomes unshakable because it comes from a place that cannot be compromised. That is the kind of loyalty that inspires, that lasts, and that leaves you whole instead of broken. Betrayal is often one of the most painful experiences we endure, yet it carries a lesson and that cannot be learned any other way. Betrayal teaches us the true worth of loyalty because it reveals, with startling clarity, who stands with us when everything falls apart. In moments of success, almost everyone will claim loyalty. People surround you when things are easy, when benefits flow, when the light shines bright. But loyalty is not measured in the glow of prosperity. It is measured in the shadows of hardship. And betrayal, as much as it wounds a degree, exposes the difference between those who were with you for what you had and those who were with you for who you are. The sting of betrayal is so sharp because it often comes from those we trusted most. A stranger cannot betray you. Only someone to whom you gave your loyalty has the power to do so. That is why betrayal hurts more deeply than loss or failure. It is not just about what was taken from you, but about the shattering of trust, the breaking of a bond you believed was unbreakable. Yet in that pain lies a gift clarity. Betrayal strips away illusions and forces you to see reality with eyes unclouded by hope or denial. It shows you where your loyalty was misplaced, and it highlights those rare souls whose loyalty endures through the storm. Many people try to avoid betrayal at all costs, guarding themselves so closely that they never allow anyone close enough to hurt them. But such a life, though safe, is also empty. Loyalty is valuable precisely because it involves risk. When you give your loyalty, you are placing trust in another person, opening yourself to the possibility of disappointment. Betrayal is the risk that comes with trust. But without taking that risk, you will never experience the profound beauty of true loyalty. Betrayal teaches you to distinguish between the two, the shallow loyalty of convenience and the deep loyalty of commitment. When betrayal happens, it is easy to become cynical, to decide that no one is worthy of loyalty, to close your heart and retreat. But betrayal, instead of destroying your belief in loyalty, should refine it. It should make you more discerning about who earns your loyalty and why. It should teach you that loyalty is not something to be handed out recklessly, but something to be given with wisdom. It should remind you that not everyone deserves the privilege of your trust, and that loyalty must be reserved for those whose actions prove their worth, not just their words. At the same time, betrayal highlights the extraordinary power of true loyalty. When others abandon you, the ones who remain shine brighter than ever. You begin to notice who checks on you without being asked, who defends you when you are not in the room, who stays by your side, not because of what they gain, but because of who you are. These are the people who define loyalty. Without betrayal, you might have overlooked them. Without betrayal, their devotion might have gone unnoticed. Betrayal, painful as it is, clears the stage so that true loyalty can be recognized and cherished. It is also important to understand that betrayal does not always mean malice. Sometimes people betray because of weakness, fear, or selfishness. That does not excuse the act, but it does remind us that betrayal often reveals more about the betrayer than about the betrayed. Their inability to stand firm says nothing about your worth and everything about their character. And when you see it that way, betrayal becomes less about your loss and more about their failure. It teaches you that your loyalty was wasted, but it also teaches you to guard it more wisely in the future. Ultimately, betrayal serves as a mirror. It reflects the fragility of human promises, but it also strengthens your own understanding of loyalty. It challenges you to ask hard questions. Who truly deserves my loyalty? Who has earned it through actions, not just words? Who has proven that they will stand by me even when the benefits disappear? Betrayal, though painful, refines your ability to answer these questions with clarity. In the end, betrayal will hurt, but it will also cleanse. It removes those who were never truly loyal, leaving behind those who are. It reminds you that loyalty is not cheap, that it should never be demanded blindly or given carelessly. It forces you to value loyalty more deeply because you have experienced the cost of giving to the wrong person. Betrayal then is not the end of loyalty. It is the teacher that shows us its true worth. Loyalty is not measured by how long someone stays in your life. Time alone does not prove devotion. There are people who will linger for years, yet their presence has no depth, no true commitment, and no real support. They are there in body, but absent in spirit, loyal only in appearance, not in truth. On the other hand, there are people who may walk with you for only a short season, yet in that time, they show you a level of loyalty so profound that it leaves an imprint for life. The measure of loyalty, therefore, is not duration, but depth, not how long someone remains, but how deeply they remain committed when tested. In every journey, there will be moments of trial. Life has a way of stripping away pretenses, revealing who truly stands with us when there is nothing to gain. When circumstances shift, when resources dry up, when recognition fades, the people who were only attached to the benefits will quietly disappear. Their loyalty was never real. It was conditional, based on convenience. But those who are truly loyal do not ask, what do I gain by staying? They ask, who will I be if I leave? Their commitment is not tied to external rewards, but to internal conviction. They remain because loyalty to them is not situational. It is an expression of integrity. It is easy to mistake longevity for loyalty. We think that because someone has been present for years, their loyalty must be strong. But true loyalty is revealed not in the length of presence, but in the quality of action during times of difficulty. Some of the most loyal people in history were tested in moments, not decades. Their loyalty shone brightest when the stakes were highest, when walking away would have been easier, yet they chose to stay. Loyalty is not about how many chapters someone appears in, but about what they do in the chapters that matter most. This understanding also reshapes how we evaluate our own loyalty. It is not enough to say, I have been here for years. What matters is, have I been consistent, supportive, and committed in the moments when it mattered most? Loyalty is measured in the sacrifices made, the truth spoken, and the presence offered during storms, not in the easy seasons where loyalty is never tested. To be loyal is to show depth, to stand when it costs something, to support when it is inconvenient, and to remain committed even when recognition is absent. We can also see how this truth liberates us from guilt. Many people feel bound to relationships simply because of time. They tell themselves, so I've known this person for years, I owe them loyalty, even when the relationship has become toxic or one-sided. But loyalty should not be chained to history. It should be tied to respect, trust, and integrity. Staying out of guilt or obligation is not loyalty. It is fear disguised as virtue. Real loyalty does not require you to abandon yourself for the sake of keeping time. It requires you to honor the truth of the bond itself. And if the bond no longer holds respect, the truest loyalty is sometimes to walk away. Depth of loyalty can also be seen in the smallest gestures. It is not always the grand sacrifices that define it, but the consistent presence in the ordinary struggles of life is supposed to be a burden to a degree. The friend who shows up at midnight when you need them, the colleague who defends you when you are not there to defend yourself, the partner who remains steady when circumstances shake. These are the moments where loyalty reveals itself. Such loyalty may never make headlines, but it builds trust so deep that it cannot easily be broken. Ultimately, loyalty is not a counter, but a commitment. It's supposed to be a burden to a degree. It is not proven by counting years, but by showing up in ways that matter. Some people will stay for decades, but vanish emotionally the moment they are needed most. Others may appear only briefly, but will leave behind a mark of loyalty so deep that it outlives their presence. That is why we must learn to measure loyalty by its depth, not its duration. The truth about loyalty is this: it is not about how long someone stays, but how they stay when it counts. Loyalty shines brightest under pressure, when choices are difficult, when sacrifices are required. It is in those moments that true loyalty separates itself from convenience, and when we finally see who stands beside us for real. And once we recognize this, we stop clinging to people simply because of time and start valuing those whose loyalty runs deep enough to endure every test.